Team TRM Robotics.
Hello everyone, Dylan TRM here, and welcome to my event recap for Texas Turkey Tussle 2022 with Scrapper S1, my 1-pound combat robot. Now I do have a separate video on how Scrapper S3, my 3-pound combat robot, also did the same event, so go check that out. I'll put a card up top for you right about there-ish. I'm not sure. So, anyway, as you should hopefully be able to tell, Scrapper S1 is pretty much right. Electronics-wise, it's still fine, but mechanics-wise, not so much. This event is actually the first event by EPO, Electronic Parts Outlet in Houston, Texas. Since its first ever outing at St. Patty's Day Slam, the Scrapper S1 actually hasn't placed. It's either placed first or second at these outings, as in Mother's Day Melee and September Scuffle, but honestly, I'm not that upset or surprised about not placing because, 1, I placed 25th with Coffee Bean, and 2, this was by far the hardest competition Scrapper S1 has faced. However, I did still get a reward. Let's get a reward in the end. And you can see here Scrapper S1 got the Judges Award for Most Determined, as I kept fighting even though Scrapper was basically in the state right here, as you see it in, but more on that later. Now, as for what I changed on Scrapper S1 between September Scuffle and Texas Turkey Tussle, vertical spinner honestly didn't really see much. I guess I got a new base plate because the previous one, which I've been using since Mother's Day Melee, was damaged beyond repair in September Scuffle. So I simply replaced it and threw all the electronics into this new one here. I also didn't bother re-adding the upright extensions here. Originally I had those on because I wanted to keep the weapon from contacting the floor. But that actually proved to make driving upside down very difficult and self-riding nearly impossible. So instead, I opted just to get rid of them and go ahead and just self-ride right into the wall, which worked honestly a lot better. Who would have thunk? Anyway, what else? Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention for some reason. Yeah, as you noticed, I went ahead and decided to give painting it a try. And yeah, even though I only have access to spray paints, which made the job process pretty painful, I'm honestly pretty happy with how it turned out. And the biggest change, though, relates more so to the horizontal config over here, so yeah, I'll go over that. Again, I replaced the base plate as the previous one was irreparably damaged. As for the horizontal config, I replaced the base plate on this one too, though mainly because it was bending from the recoil of the weapon rather than being irreparably damaged. Though this bending issue too has started showing in this frame. However, I'm hoping to have addressed it by adding a reversible ESC so I can just spin the weapon the other way whenever the bending occurs. I've also acquired 2 new blades from Fingertech, the Bloodsport Tri-Bar and the Bloodsport Long Bar, both of which have proved to be very fruitful in testing. The Tri-Bar has not once managed to flip over and has always stayed level, whereas the Long Bar has managed to cut through pretty much anything I've thrown at it. But, as I mentioned earlier, the biggest change between the two configs that they have in common is 3D printed armor. Now, you see, I take college courses, and I was able to get access to a 3D printer and CAD software. So I decided to print out a bunch of different armor plates for the horizontal config and several spare ones for the vertical one. Unfortunately, most of the vertical spinner plates didn't exactly survive the stress tests, and only one plate managed to survive them, which is on the robot now, actually. While I have no idea how good the horizontal armor plates are, as I never used this horizontal config once throughout the event, I am very pleased with how the ABS held up for the vertical spinner, as it took some serious damage, but it still was mostly intact and usable. So now the changes are out of the way, let's get on to the actual fights. After all, it's probably the only reason you're here. So anyway, Scrapper S1's first fight was against Nanette Butt, I think it was? Yeah, that was it. Which is, your standard-ish undercutter design. Blade up front, 2 wheels in the back. Whole robot, however, is encased in the thick UHMW frame. Not sure how thick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about a 1/4 inch thick of UHMW, not sure. So obviously horizontal with long bar was right out of the question, since especially as the horizontal is I don't ever want to run that against other horizontals. So I opted just to use the vert instead and use my titanium front plate against him, instead of being just go right at him and not let him catch the side of the wedge. So then, let's see how that fight went.
That's one. Match started 5. Whoa. 3, 2, 1, fight.
Stay away from him. He'll get counted out. Yeah.
Win by the same.
Oh my God.
Yeah, boys. 2, 1. Back rest 1.
Bring him back over here.
I will admit, this match was just pure luck. I also will admit, yes, I very easily could have freed him, but I knew that doing so was pretty much the equivalent of me clicking an instant lose button. So I instead just left him there and let him get counted out. And in terms of damage, he killed this weapon motor here, which does still... Wait. I didn't notice the leads were gone on this one. Didn't know. Thought all 3 leads were still on this one. But either way, I think the motor does still work. Might still work, but the shaft is just bent, so the motor won't spin freely anymore. But I'm not 100% sure. He also tore off the corner of the plate, which I don't remember which part. And he also cracked the top panel, which, yeah, not good. But it was pretty easy to fix. I just swapped the weapon motor for a new one. It was ready for the next match against Tornado. Now Tornado, or I guess technically Tornado's strong now? I don't really know. Anyway, I fought them at my last event in Losers Bracket Final. He unknowingly may or may not have cost me the championship match, as he killed the only regular motor I had, but that's beside the point. They're a fellow Viper kit, albeit a heavily modified one, with the mounting point for their horizontal spinner bent at a 45-degree angle. I had to once again go vertical spinner with a titanium sheet, albeit this time with the ABS plate underneath it, to fix the drive problem I had in the first match, which was because the titanium sheet, as you might guess, isn't exactly flat anymore after Strawberry Senior had its way with it. Either way, the goal was the same as the last time I fought them. Go full send into them to get them to gyro around and flip over. So that out of the way, here's the match.
And Vertex.
Alright, we started the recording.
Daddy Badger and her quick. In the dugout is Coffee Bean and Eagle.
We're going up against Earthquake.
Box, are you ready?
Yes.
Match started. 5,
They need us
3, 2,
because
1.
one of our rules
Fight.
first.
Pin him. Leave him there, Dylan.
That's it.
Your handle is not moving. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Winner, Tornado Strong. Hey. I mean, well, I'm sorry. Scalper S1. My brain is like out of it. Scalper S1.
Overall, the strategy worked exactly as planned. In terms of damage, it was mostly cosmetic for both of us, really. I just recharged the battery and was ready for the next match against Abaddon. Now, Abaddon is a drum turret with a beefy in-runner motor powering its drum. In fact, the drum has enough torque to just flip the whole robot over. There was a possible weak point I noticed, though, which was the battery was in the dead center of the very thin bottom panel. So I thought if I managed a good hit, I should be able to crush his lipo and disable him. So I have to go vert again, with the ABS underneath it again, though this time with the front feeder wedge on, to help get under him. The strat was simple. Just go right at him and either wedge him and make him grind on the titanium, or go up in the weapon and hit his bottom panel. Now then, how does it go? Well...
Abaddon? Ready? Okay. Match you started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fight!
Well, leave them there, Dylan. Leave them there, Dylan. Oh,
Rapper's putting some makeup work in it. Just pushing them around. Well, that one was definitely solid.
they both still work.
Is that part of scrapple?
One spinner's not working. This scrapper's working. This is a pretty good. Oh wow! Big hit.
That is just anything scrapple to the roof. Really intense.
Looks like it's falling off.
That's just a add-on part.
I think I did that.
No, I don't think so.
A bad.
As you can see, things didn't exactly go according to plan. Now, unbeknownst and unfortunately for me, during the fight, one of the first changes Abington got with me bent the end of this feeder wedge here, which lifted the rest of the wedge off the floor, which made it much easier for him to bite on the other side of the wedge and throw Scrapper S1 into the ceiling or across the arena. I did get into his backside at once and shredded it a little, but I didn't know it'll stop Abington at all. Eventually, after getting thrown into the air a couple times, the front feeder came off, which was to my benefit, but unfortunately on the very next hit, Abington managed to kill the weapon motor, reducing me to a wedge. So I decided to just go full tank mode and wedge him around as best I could. It was going decently until my left drive side here started acting up. And then one more hit from him completely disabled it. Thankfully, there was only around 10 seconds left of the match, as you saw, so it wasn't a big deal. I honestly thought I'd actually won the fight, because even though Scrapper was sent into the ceiling multiple times, I felt I was being the more aggressive and controllable one. Evidently, the judges had different thoughts, though, and gave Abington the win, which sent Scrapper S1 down to loser's bracket. Honestly, if I were to fight them again, I think I actually might go with the horizontal spinner with the long bar to try and carve into their underside. Though I'd have to be pretty careful to make sure he doesn't hit the weapon up and tear the clip of the holding motor together off. Just an idea, though. Just an idea. As for the damage Scrapper S1 took, their weapon died because the repeated impacts caused one of the motor leads to bend into the path of the weapon, and, well, the weapon just shredded it. So the motor couldn't turn anymore. As for the left wheel dying, the repeated trips to the ceiling and opposite side of the arena actually caused the screws holding the motor gearbox together to back out, so the motor came off of the gearbox. The motor was just fine, it was spinning, just the gears weren't on it anymore and spinning with it. And as for the front feeder, well, yeah, he just hit it enough to tear it straight off. Simple as that. As for Abaddon, I actually did some pretty decent damage to his backside here, as this image will show. But I couldn't get deep enough to hit anything important. Though, thankfully for me, repairing Scrap Press 1 was fairly simple. I just simply swapped to a new motor and re-screwed the gearbox back together, and was ready for the next match, which was Nanette Batet yet again. Now, in terms of strategy for fighting them the second time, it was the exact same as the first one. Just go right at them and not let their blade catch the side of the wedge. Though this time, I ran with the ABS underneath it to prevent the drive problems that I had the first time I faced them. Now then, how did it go? Well, one way to find out. Boop.
Right now. It's on.
Okay. Box are in the arena. Close the arena. Make sure it is locked. Scrapper S1, are you ready? Nanobot, are you ready? Match will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fight! There's a couple sparks flying in there. Ooh. Making good contact. Good control.
Like tire parts flying everywhere.
Oh, his wheel came out. I think it was the same wheel as last time too. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's just shredded up.
Just tap.
I'm not giving up yet.
Battery's out? No, okay, we're good.
Battery's all good.
Not for long though.
Oh my god! Oh, he's out!
Oh, man, this man's got a strong will to keep on fighting. Oh. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and...
So, yeah. Scrap Press 1 got absolutely clapped. Nanette Batet took basically 0 damage, whereas Scrap Press 1 had the corner of the wedge disintegrated, the right side drive disabled, with the left one barely functional at all, the wheel hub on the left side here damaged, weapon teeth severely damaged, some chunks taken out of the drum, the screws holding the teeth on backed out, and now the whole weapon's very unbalanced. Well, not very, but somewhat. The top plate has been shattered, and of course, the frame has been bent. I will admit, I'm very salty about how I lost this match, as you may be able to tell by me pounding my fist on the rings like hand in anger. As Scrap Press 1 first gets high center on its own wheel, and then wedges in a gap between, it's just the right size between the floor and the wall. But I did end up winning the most determined judges award for not tapping out, so, I guess I'll take it. What do I mean, I guess? Of course I'll take it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how Scrapper did, especially considering Nanette Batet took second and Abaddon took first. I definitely need to improve the armor panels and the weapon, though. I'm planning on having some thicker grade 5 titanium front panels cut by Sencut Send, as well as new AR-500 steel teeth made to replace the current AR-400 ones. AR-500 is harder and should last longer from going weapon to weapon or hitting hard surfaces. But with that, well, that's all I gotta say. Until next time, that's all, folks.